We are now in our fourth class, which is great. So what we're going to do, I hope to get a lot accomplished today, and this will be probably the last class that we do, which is still like an introductory part, because until now we haven't actually looked at the Gemara that much. We looked a tiny bit 2 classes ago, and we'll do that again now, but then we're going to revert back to a really, probably the most important introduction that we're going to do as far as giving us tools to actually look and actually be able to try to figure out what a Gemara is doing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into practicing, which is we would have hoped to do this last week, but we didn't, and we're going to just practice again the 3 layers of sources. We're going to just continue in our Gemara, okay, which is I would say take out the photocopied sheets that you have. If there's anyone who doesn't have, you don't have, right? I don't have an extra one.
This is from last week.
No, this is from 2 weeks ago.
From 2 weeks ago, but yeah.
So this, you have, oh yeah, okay, good. Yeah, good. Okay. So what we're going to do is, we're going to take this sheet. If you don't have this sheet and you have a Gemara, you can do it directly in your Gemara. The reason that we were doing it from this is because we felt that let's do it for the first time, in a place that if we make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. Oh, you have an extra one? If anyone needs.
No.
Oh.
This was the one.
Yeah, that's the one you're working on.
That
Good.
one.
Yeah.
That's one?
Yeah. So, what
It doesn't look the same to me.
What? Well, we just use different colors. Okay. So what we're going to do is
So
we're
we
going
go
to
back to that.
Yes, we're going to, because this is the page of Gemara we're actually going to be learning. We're going to actually start learning in 2 weeks from now. 2 or 3 weeks, and we're actually going to start learning it. But what we did 2 weeks ago, we practiced I'll just kind of quickly remind ourselves. We talked about the fact that the Gemara is a conversation, a recording of a live conversation amongst the rabbis, the Amoraim, the rabbis who lived during the 3rd and 4th and 5th centuries. And what they're discussing is, all the discussions are based on sources. Okay, they're discussing the sources of the Torah, trying to understand them, and they're discussing the sources of the Tanaim, of the rabbis of the Mishnah, and they're trying to understand them, and they're trying to extrapolate from them, and they're trying to apply them to new realities. And we want to make sure that when we're looking at a Gemara, we can tell, what is this the actual discussion, or is this a quote of a primary source like a Mishnah, or is this a quote from the primary source of the Torah? And because that is key. The majority of what the Gemara is doing is it is the rabbis of the Gemara discussing amongst themselves and arguing amongst themselves about how to understand the sources that came before them, because they very rarely are inventing anything. Everything they're doing is an attempt to interpret and understand and apply the rules and laws that predate them. Okay, think about it this way: think of the Torah like a constitution. Okay, constitution which all laws, or the majority of laws, are going to be based on the rules and outlines of the constitution. So when you come to discuss a specific issue, you first go and you see, can this be answered by what is already there? We are all obligated by the Constitution. That's what makes it a Constitution. And we go and say, well, according to the Constitution, this would be the answer. And some other legal expert says that, no, because really the Constitution could be understood in a different way. And then you have different opinions about constitutional law. And then besides, I'm using I apologize that I'm not familiar with Canadian law. I have no clue how it's structured, so I don't know if anything I'm saying is relevant to that. What I'm familiar with is the American system, or even the Israeli one, which has something similar to Constitution, which is called Chokei Yesod, literally fundamental laws, which kind of serve as a constitution. And then besides, when you talk about the American Constitution as an example, because it's not just a constitution. The Constitution has, what do you call those things that were added on to the Constitution? Amendments. Okay, amendments. Or I'm not sure if that's one of the words used. They have amendments. The 16th Amendment, the 13th Amendment, things were added on not by the founding fathers. So in this mashal, the Torah would be lahavdil. The Torah would be the Constitution, and then you would have the things that were added on, but are still like secondary to the Constitution, or they're added on as an extra to the Constitution. That would be the words of the Mishnah. And then you have chief justices who would be sitting around trying to talk about constitutional law, seeing what does fit, what doesn't fit. Is this ruling that this judge did over there, is this fit with the Constitution, or okay? So therefore, being able to tell the difference between the different sources is really, really important. Okay. So we're going to practice that one more time, and as we're learning, we will pick it up more and more. But we're going to do this one more time, and what we're going to do is
Is this in Kedushin?
yes, this is in Kedushin Kaftet Amud Aleph 29a. So we did until, let me make sure I remember, until where did we do? Did we do until the word lifdoto?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's until where we did. Right? Okay, so I agree. You can use mine because I didn't continue on my own. Okay? So, okay? So you can use mine. And choose your own colors as far as how you, as far as what you use. So I want to remind ourselves. It's really pretty simple, but it's important to practice. So we have three levels of the sources, right? We have sources from the Torah. How do we detect that something is a quote from the Torah? Two main giveaways. What are they? That something is a quote from the Tanakh, or from the Torah, from Tanakh, from the Bible. What are the two giveaways?
Katav.
Right? So there are certain words, okay, that are basically by definition a quote from the Torah, which is words like ktiv, meaning which is as is written. Okay? So where would the oral law be talking about when it says as is written? The written law, the Torah, right? So anytime it says a word like ktiv, or the word shene'emar, as was said by Hashem, okay? Those are two or different variations of these. Okay, another giveaway. This is for Torah source. Okay, this is for a Torah source. So this is one giveaway. What's the second giveaway? Little circle, right? Second giveaway, a little circle.
What is that? The second one. What's
Shene'emar. As was said, meaning by Hashem.
What about Kra? It's Kra.
Good, yes, good, you're right. Amal Kra, said the written law. Good, you're right. Kra. Okay? The second giveaway we said is the small circle, right? Which basically says, hey, there's a quote here, and then you look to the side and it tells you where that quote appears. Okay? So that's for a Torah source. Again, we've done this before, but just we're going to refresh our memory. The second one is a Tanaic source. Okay? Tanaic source. And what are the two giveaways? One giveaway is certain key words, meaning any word that has the root Taf, Nun, Aleph. So that's things like Tana, or Tanya, or Tanu Rabbanan, which is same root, Tanu, Tanina, okay, Matnitin. Any one of these is saying, I'm about to quote. Now, what purpose is this quote going to serve? We have no idea yet. We're going to get to that in the second part of today's class. Okay? Because just because I'm quoting something, I don't know what you want to use that quote for. Are you using this quote to prove something? Are you using this quote to attack me with something? Are you using this quote to answer me? I don't know what the quote is being used for. But first, we want to know that it's a quote.
And so how do we know if it's a quote from a Mishnah or from a Baraita?
We don't care. It's irrelevant. What Ivor is referring to is that the Mishnah is the collection of all, not of all the Tanakh sources, of all the Tanakh sources that were important, that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, who's the editor of the Mishnah, felt are the most important ones to put together in an orderly fashion. But then there's a lot of other quotes that Tanaim said that just never made it in. Okay? They never made the official edition. And those are called Braitot, which literally Braita means outsiders. Okay? Meaning the things that remained outside the official compendium, but they're still quoted on occasion. But the reason it doesn't make a difference is because they both hold the exact same authority. Any quote from a Tanaic source holds the same authority as an authority, okay, that is equal to any other. Okay? So, and all these phrases can refer to any of those. Okay?
Where would you see but if we see a variety, come across a variety, it has actually made its way into the Talmud.
Not into the Talmud, yes. Not into the Mishnah. Remember, the Talmud is the combination of the Mishnah and the Gemara. Sorry, right? The Mishnah is the words of the rabbis of that period, meaning between about 0 to 220, and the Gemara is the words of the rabbis from 220 to 480. But the Talmud is taking those two creations and putting them in one book.
And you'll see a reference to Braita in the Gemara.
Correct. In the Gemara.
Yeah.
Just like the Gemara will quote a Mishnah, the Gemara will quote a Braita. Okay? So that's one giveaway. And the second giveaway is the language, right? What will be the language of a Tanaic source? Hebrew, right? Alex, we're just doing a very quick review because we're going to do some practice that we owe ourselves from last week. So that's for Tanaic source. And for a Gemara source, what will be the two giveaways? One giveaway, what language will be in? It will be in Aramaic. And we said, how do we know that something is Aramaic? We don't really know, but there's some clues to it. A lot of times, if the word ends with an aleph, or if you see the letter aleph a lot of times at the end, that could be a hint to the fact that it's Aramaic. And sometimes you just read it and it's like it rings as not Hebrew. So if it's Aramaic. And another giveaway is if there's no source reference, meaning if there's no reference to a source, a Tanaic source, a Torah source, then it's the default. The default is the rabbis of the Gemara are having a discussion. Okay? So, using this knowledge, let's practice the next section. Okay? The next section would be from Lifdoto, okay, or right after the colon of Lifdoto, until, where is it? Come on, where's the next stop? We'll do until, just a second, the second line from the bottom, okay, the second line from the bottom, the first word on that second line is Tanu Rabbanan. So up to those words, not including those words. Okay, meaning until the last word of the third line from the bottom, until Velo B'notecha. Okay, so that's the section that we're doing now.
Is Lifdoto the word after Ledorot Teichim, isn't it?
Yes. So from the colon after that word, okay? Meaning Lifdoto, anything that's between two colons, meaning that's a section the Gemara is going to discuss. Okay? So let's just practice that. If anyone needs help, ask your chavruta, ask the person you are working with. And if that doesn't, if you guys have not figured it out together, then call me and I will I'm more than happy to help. Alex, you know where we are? We're 29. We're in 29a. Kaftet Amud Aleph.
And there is the circle.
Right. And it goes through to probably up to Tifte.
Alex, you look like you're looking for something. Looking for something to write with?
Yes.
I forgot to bring my markers. I left them in the car. But wait, there is a pen here. And there's, let's see, these are probably both the same color. Here. I started keeping markers in my glove compartment, but it doesn't help if I forget them in my car. Oh, but if you want, wait, can he borrow this? It has several colors in it.
Oh, okay.
So that works.
Feel free to use this.
However, you're writing in your Gemara? You can. It's not a problem to do.
Well, I'm running the kitchen, but it's
No, it's okay. Just go around.
it's easy.
Okay, so there's a circle at the beginning there.
to where the next dictative I think just the two words.
Well, it's in Aramaic, I don't understand.
Just floating a bit. Oh, this is Hebrew again. Caution with what? Caution with what? That's more.
This dictative here. No, sorry. Then yes, and then dictative again, right? Right, so from this dictative. So, it seems to go a long time, actually.
But I think the next one, I think this is it seems like an explanation.
There's nothing to tell us that it would be done.
Right.
How are we doing?
So this
So
dictative
if there's things that you don't know, so skip them, right? So and then after the
dictative is
that's
תפתח כל המצווה לפדות את עצמו מצווה לפדות את אחרים וכל שאינה מצווה לפדות את עצמו. So technically that sounds like it would be all from the Torah because there's no reference to Tanaim and it's in Hebrew and it doesn't get separated from this.
so right, this one is a little tricky. In case it catches me, I don't know. It's a little tricky because you're right to like wonder like where is it stopping? It's just continuing. It's just going and going. How to know where it stops? So right now I can't give you a clear way to know how it stops. But you're right. The dichtiv obviously is going to be a quote. The quote actually ends right after this word tifadeh tivdeh. That's the end of the quote. That's actually the end of the quote.
And then would that be Tanaim?
And then that, yes, and that is already a Tanaic source, which is a you see something. That's right. This is an Aramaic source, right? And this is what?
I think it's probably Aramaic.
Yes, it is Aramaic, correct. That is very clearly Aramaic.
I think this.
Then dichtiv tivdeh tivdeh, and again the rule only applies most of the time. This is the case where this is a quote, and this already, and this
actually two quotes. I mean,
what?
Tivdeh.
No, it's one quote, and it's telling you. We'll get there. We'll get to what it is, but it's basically showing you that.
So then. So then כל שמצווה
לבדות את עצמו, מצווה לבדות אחרים, וכל שאינו מצווה לבדות את עצמו, לבדות אחרים.
אינו מצווה לבדות
אחרים. That is a Tanaic source. And then it starts off, Ve'ihi min alan de la mechayva lemifak nafsha. What does that sound like? That is all Aramaic, right? That's also Aramaic. Dichtiv.
So we switch to Torah.
Right. So this is, and it's going to be the exact same thing. And then again, כל שאחרים מצווים לבדותו, מצווה לבדות את עצמו, וכל שאין אחרים מצווים לבדותו, לא מצווה לבדות את עצמו. Okay? And all that is, again, you see it's the exact same structure. So that's also.
What is the asterisk referred to?
Doesn't concern us right now. It's a reference. It's a footnote. It's a reference to a footnote. Doesn't concern us.
Okay, and then
ומניין שאין אחרים מצווים לפדותה.
that sounds all Aramaic.
Yeah. And Damar Kra.
We switch to Torah.
Right. And that's it. So again, we got it. Although there was something that.
Kol b'chor b'necha tifdeh. So then the start there.
Correct. Correct. Exactly.
And again is
but
Tanaim.
Just 1 second. I want to make sure that. Fine. That's how we're doing it. And this is the dry run.
Yeah.
When we get to the Gemara itself, when we're going to actually do the Gemara, we'll do it in the Gemara, and we'll do it because we're going to have there's a whole other factor that we're not using right now, which will make this. It's like when you're learning math. Sometimes you have to teach in lower grades. You teach math, which when which is kind of fundamental, and then when you reach high level, you have to tell. Oh, you know what? We learned back then it wasn't exactly accurate, and this is more accurate. And what you learned before was a little bit of a mistake. But you had to learn that first in order to get to the point where you learn the whole picture. So that's we're missing a big piece in order to be able to analyze this text, even the way we're doing it. And therefore, that's why we're doing it over here. Because when we get to the Gemara, we're going to have a whole other feature that we're going to start working on already today. Okay? So let me just check something. Okay. So, is everyone more or less finished? Ivor and Alex, how are you guys doing? What? Oh, let's put the camera back on me. Okay. What?
I like it on me.
Okay. I'll give you guys another minute. You guys done? Okay. So let's do this quickly because I really want to move on to the feature of today's class. This is just practice, and it's good. We need to do practice because we need to make sure that whatever skills we have, we maintain them and we develop them, and they become a feature for us. And okay, so let's start off. So lifdota, this is a quote from something, and it's going to say, okay, we're going to talk about this word lifdota. Okay, so menalan, what's that word? Did anyone even think that this is a separate word?
From where?
What? No, I don't need to know what it means. I need to make believe you don't know anything. But what source? This is a word. Is this a Tanaic source, an Amoraic source, or a Torah source? Let's put this. Is it a Torah source?
No.
No.
An Aramaic.
What? Well, how do I know it's not a Torah source? There's nothing to indicate it's a Torah source. Is it a Tanaic source? There's nothing to indicate it's a Tanaic source. So it must be an Amoraic source. Okay? Okay, so that's an Amoraic source. And then the word dichtiv tells us that what? There's going to be a Torah source here. Okay? So, where does the Torah source end? Where does the quote end?
Tifde.
Good. V'chol b'chol banecha tifde. How do you know that that's where it ends?
Because the next word looks like it's
Aramaic, correct. Look, v'hecha delo parke. Those are easy giveaways of the Aramaic. You see how the first word ends with Aleph, the next word ends with Aleph, the next word ends with Yud Hey. That's it. You see something like that. A lot of Alephs at the end of the word, a lot of Yud Heys. That's, even before vocabulary, before anything else, that's 99 out of 100 times that's going to be Aramaic. Okay? My apologies. Okay, so where does that end? The Aramaic source, but where does it end? Someone? Lemifreke. Good. How do you know that? Because the next word is dichtiv, which starts us off on what kind of source? Anyone from the left side of the room want to chip in? Because then it starts a Torah source, right? Dichtiv, and where does that end? The second one?
The
ihi. Right. So it's very short quotes over here. These are tiny quotes in the Torah, which is very misleading, because you assume it's going to quote a whole pasuk or half a pasuk, but sometimes it might be quoting one word or two words, and then you automatically, this is what we got stuck on. You automatically are looking for, okay, where does it end? It ended when it started. Okay, but okay. So dichtiv padot tivdeh, and then v'ihi menalan de lo mifkeda. By the way, if we already knew that the word menalan was Aramaic, remember from the very beginning of the Gemara, the word menalan appeared, and we knew it was Aramaic. How did we know it was an Amoraic source? Because it was one word. It wasn't a Tanaic source. It wasn't a Torah source. So we now see the word menalan again. And when we start actually learning the Gemara, we'll learn what the word menalan means. But even with that, it's really cool to see. I can figure a lot of stuff out, even when you have no idea what any word means. Because, you guys with me? Because we already know that the word menalan is an Amoraic source, right? We don't know what it means. None of us heard Ivor say what it means, right? We don't know what it means. But now it appears again, And there you go. I already know that this is a Amoraic source. People with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wish I had my smartboard here. I don't know how teachers taught before smartboard. I used to teach without a smartboard, but I remember it being horrible. I remember it being a challenge. Okay. So okay, where does this end? Dichtiv, right? Dichtiv starts off on a Torah source. Tipadeh, tifdeh. That is the source. This is tricky. How many people got stuck over here? Most people? Okay, yeah. This is hard because it doesn't switch to Aramaic. It goes dichtiv, tipadeh, tifdeh. That is a quote from the Torah. Then it starts kol shemitzvah lifdot et atzmo. Okay, and that easily could sound like it's a continuation of the pasuk, but it isn't. Okay, how do I expect you to tell? You would not be able to tell this on your own. Based on the knowledge that we have so far, you would not be able to know this. Okay, other than saying it doesn't sound like any pasuk that I've heard, but that's not a very good rule. Again, the rules that we give will work most of the time. Not for all cases. And as we go along, then we'll pick it up. Okay?
The Aramaic source switches to Hebrew.
So, yes. So I was trying to look to make sure, because it's just Hebrew. So it sounds like a Tanakh source. But sometimes the Amoraim will speak in Hebrew. Okay? Meaning, if a source is in Aramaic, it is 100% an Amoraic source. Okay? If it's in Hebrew, if it's completely in Hebrew, 90% of the time it's going to be Tanakh. But the Amoraim also knew Hebrew. So even when the Amoraim are talking, there's definitely touches of Hebrew. Okay? Just like we're talking English now, and occasionally I'll say Rashi or Tosfot or Dibur Matchil. So there will be droppings of little kind of things of uses of Hebrew also when the Amoraim are speaking. And sometimes they might say a whole sentence in Hebrew. Why? Either because they are maybe they are from the earlier years of the Amoraic times, and therefore Hebrew was more common and used more often. Maybe it's someone who we might see this. Yeah, we'll see this. We'll see this much later down the line, that there were some rabbis who would continuously travel back and forth from Israel to Babylon, to Mesopotamia, and therefore they would kind of travel between the two Torah centers, relaying the different Torahs and the different approaches and different opinions. So maybe some of this is a quote from one of them, and therefore there's more use of Hebrew. Okay, but even though this is Hebrew, this is part of the Amoraic discussion. And the reason I know that is because there's nothing to indicate it's a Tanakh source. If it was a quote from a Tanakh source, there's a rule. If it's a quote from a Tanakh source, there will be something indicating it's a quote. Oh. That is a 100% rule. It will be, again, because remember, the default is this whole thing is a conversation by the rabbis of the Amoraim. So if they're going to mention the Mishnah or say something in the Mishnah, it's going to be brought as a quote. It's going to say, as it says in the Mishnah. So it doesn't say that here. So even though it's Hebrew, this is an Amoraic source.
This is a great exercise because one of my problems was how to punctuate. And this simple exercise helps you to punctuate.
It gives you an initial punctuation.
Yeah.
It gives you a very, very initial way to start kind of, if not punctuating an actual sentence, telling you at least where the sentences are, where the different sentences begin and end. Yeah. Okay. So where are we? We're
saying kol
shemitzuveh. That is and I need to apologize to you. This is a Amoraic source. It's misleading. I can mislead because it's all in Hebrew. But then I'm saying there's no quotation here. There's no reference in the side thing that it's a quote of anything. It's not a quote. So it's an Amorah who's speaking Hebrew.
And it goes all the way through to
until the next Torah quote. Wait. Let's see. Here. Let's see. Where are we? Okay, that's a quote from the Torah, and then Kol shemitzuveh livdot et atzmo mitzuveh livdot et achirim, v'chol she'eno mitzuveh livdot et atzmo eno mitzuveh livdot achirim. Now we know that V'ihi menalan is for sure the beginning of what? Amoraic source. Because we know this already. We've seen V'ihi min alan. I don't know what it means, but I don't need to know what it means.
This whole thing is Amoraic, the whole 3 lines.
Yeah, and then he goes, says V'ihi min alan delo mechayva lemifrak nafsha. We know that is a Amoraic source. Okay, V'ihi min alan delo mechayva lemifrak nafsha. And it says Dichtiv, starting what kind of quote? A Torah quote. Tifdeh tipadeh. Okay, and then it goes on. כל שאחרים מצווים לפדותו, מצווה לפדות את עצמו, וכל שאין אחרים מצווים לפדותו, אין מצווה לפדות את עצמו. I have no idea what it means. I do know
it has to be Amoraic.
That we now know already, and it's following the same thing. That's Amoraic. Yeah. ומניין שאין אחרים מצווים לפדותה. Also, there's no quote here from the Torah. There's no quote here from a Tanaic source. So therefore, it must be a Amoraic source. Okay. The Amar Kra, what kind of source is this? Torah source. Kol bechol banecha tifde. Banecha velo bnotecha.
So tifde, banai velo banai, we were saying is Amoraic as well?
Banecha velo bnotecha, yes.
So in effect, there's no Tanaic source in this whole.
Correct. There is no Tanaic source in this entire.
The next 2 words. Tana.
Yes, correct. The continuation of the sugya, Tanu Rabbanan, is going to be a quote from a Mishnah. Okay?
What is a sugya again?
Sugya is the
section.
Section, yeah. Okay? Now,
sorry, just
yeah.
Could you repeat after that last name, the Amar Kara?
The Amar Kara is going to be a Torah source. Yes, and this is Kol b'chol banecha tifde. End of quote. Banecha velo bnotecha. Now, I don't have a rule to give you of how you're supposed to know that Banecha velo bnotecha is an Amoraic source. This is a tricky one. It's two-faced. Because remember, you have 2 giveaways. In this case, you don't have both of them. Usually you have both giveaways. Sometimes you only have one of them. Okay?
So, wait a minute. So you said Banecha velo bnotecha is
no, Amoraic.
Amoraic, okay.
Correct.
No Tanaic anyway.
No Tanaic source in this discussion.
But you just said it. Sorry, what you just said before Lauren's question
I think
was.
you said Tanaic, not.
What? When?
Just to be clear, that you said it's one, or you sometimes get one or the other.
Usually
I
you get. I meant the
Tanaic it always has to be.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
So even if you have Hebrew, like we've seen, without the Tana or whatever before, then it can never be Tanaic. Then it's Amoraic. That's what
I'm not going to say the word. I'm not going to say.
Never.
No. Yes. I'm not going to say the word never.
Okay.
99 out of 100.
Okay. But that's what we just saw now,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Exception.
Yes. We saw an exception, which is that 3 whole rows of Hebrew that is not an Amoraic source. Excuse me. That is not a Tanaic source. Rare. Okay. And now we're gonna put this aside, and we are going to plunge in. We're going to dive in, really dive in. Okay. Here, please take one, and pass the rest around. Here you go. Okay. We're doing a whole other thing now, okay? But we're going to spend a while on this, okay? And we're going to be learning how to learn Gemara, and learning Gemara based on the approach developed by the Ramchal, okay? The Ramchal was one of the most important rabbis of his time, and he came up, this is about 350 years ago, a little more, 350 years ago, and he he wrote a book. He created a methodology of how to learn Gemara, and he wrote an entire book called Derech Tvunot, where he explains it from the most fundamental things until the most complex. And it's a methodology of how to learn Gemara, and we're going to be borrowing several important components of it. And he basically comes and says, any piece of Gemara that you look at. He basically comes and says there are 7 building blocks. Okay, 7 building blocks of Gemara. Anything you look at in the Gemara can be divided into one of 7 types of statements, okay? Or meaning if you were to take, I know. If you were to, it would be like what is the smallest components? Like in for thousands of years, we were looking for the smallest component in the world, smallest component in physics, right? So if you were to have to break down the Gemara to its smallest components, okay, says the Ramchal, you'd find one of 7 elements, okay, and they are, as you have in front of you here, okay, they are either, and these I'm going to write them down even though they're right in front of us, because we're going to start using this language, as I've said before. Once we introduce a word in Hebrew or in Aramaic, which is an important word, we're just going to continue using that. So, it will either be a memra, which is a statement, and soon we will explain what each one of these things mean. A she'elah, which is a query, which sounds like a strange word to use. So you could use the word question, but we'll see that question is too ambiguous, so it's a query. But we'll call it a question, okay? Tshuva, which is an answer. A kushia, sometimes it's called a kashya, or a kashya, which is an attack. Terutz, which is not an answer, it's a removal of an attack.
Rebuttal.
A rebuttal. Yes. Okay, yeah, that works. Rebuttal. Good. A re'ayah, which is a proof. And a stira, okay, which is a rejection. Now, obviously, before we start going into this, and at first this is going to seem like it's really simple, but we'll see that understanding this and the different uses of it is the ultimate key to being able to actually learn Gemara. Okay? We'll start now, but then we're going to be spending at least 2 weeks just understanding these concepts and how they interact with each other. Because really what Gemara is understanding how these identifying, when you look at a Gemara, being able to identify using certain key words, okay? And understand how they interact with each other, okay? So, if you turn the page, okay? And this little 4-page thing, this is going to be like our manifest. Like this is going to be, we're going to live by this. Okay? So what you have in front of you, you have this first page, which is those 7, which we're going to know them by next week. We're going to know them by heart. It's memra, she'elah, tshuva, kushia, terutz, re'ayah, stira. Statement, question, answer, attack, rebuttal, proof, and rejection. Like it is so important to know those 7. Just those 7 words, okay? Because we're going to live by this. And then the next page is an explanation of what each one is in one sentence. Okay, we're going to read that now and explain a little bit what it means. The next page we're not going to do together. Take this as extra reading. And we will refer back to page 3 and 4 as we understand the concepts better. Because the 3rd and 4th page explain in a little more detail what each one is. Okay, but that we're not going to read together. You know, Shabbat afternoon, Shabbat's getting a little bit longer. So when you're done reading whatever it is that you read in Shabbat, you can read that a little bit. So, Memra, statement. The Mishnah or the Gemara, I'm on page 2 here. The Mishnah or the Gemara is, what should I read? Someone please read for us. That way you don't have to do my voice. Let's start like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 6. We have almost 7. So we have 7 with me. So go ahead.
Okay, Memra, statement. The Mishnah, Gemara is teaching us something that we would not have known on our own.
It's a basic statement of fact. This is what it is.
This is what it is. Right. This is what you should do. Okay. We're gonna practice this soon.
Who is making that statement? What is it?
Look, what does it say?
The Gemara.
The Mishnah or the Gemara.
Okay.
Okay. The Mishnah or the Gemara is making a statement, but it's important. Something that we would not have known otherwise. Okay. We'll see later on why that's important. Yeah.
Could be Haggadah, could be Halacha. It could be a statement of
any kind of statement. Could be something which is instructive, or it could be something which is reflective. Okay, good. Alex, go ahead.
query. Query is innocent if it asked from a position of limited knowledge and is asking for more information than is currently available.
Okay. Now, So you're wondering, what does that mean? A query is innocent.
Well, it's a pure question. It's not an aggressive question. It's not a derogatory question. It's just.
But its entire intention
innocent.
Is to gather more information. You've said something. I'm missing information to be able to know what you want from me, to understand what you're saying, to figure it out, and therefore I'm asking a question which is trying to gather more information. Okay? Okay. Continue.
Tshuva answer. This provides the requested information. As such, is claiming to be in a position of knowledge.
Okay. Now, why does it have to? Why does it say here? As such, it is claiming to be in a position of knowledge. Because if someone gives an answer, sometimes they say, "Well, how do you know that?" Meaning, or where do you know this from? Or are you sure? But we'll see this as we go along. Continue. We're just going to read through this quickly because I want to go and show examples. Go ahead.
Kasher is an attack, and this claims with certainty that whatever point is being attacked is not correct. You are wrong, as opposed to you might be wrong.
Okay. So what we're going to practice soon, as once we finish these 7, is understanding the difference between a she'ela and kushiyah. And it's really important to understand the difference between a she'ela and kushiyah and see what it would look like, how differently it would look. It is so crucial, and you'd be shocked how many people who learn Gemara for years don't understand the difference between a she'ela and a kushiyah, and it is really, really important, and we'll see soon why.
Are you potentially attacking the statement that?
Possibly. Possibly. Go ahead.
He wrote, this removes from the one who is attacking the ability to say you are wrong and limits them to say you might be wrong.
Okay, so the removal of an attack, all it's trying to come and say that the attack is not, okay, meaning the attack is trying to say you are wrong because of X, Y, and Z, and all I need to do is come and say what the reason that you're so sure that he's wrong is not necessarily true. Okay? I don't need to prove that you're wrong. I just need to show that you might be wrong. Okay? Because you're the one who's so sure that you're right. As long as I come and cast doubt into your certainty, okay, this might be up in there. Soon we'll see what it actually looks like. Go ahead.
Proof. This claims the only way to understand a given source or point is in accordance with the opinion being supported. It is a claim of certainty.
Okay, I'll read the last one, and then instead of just being a kind of hypothetical, we'll look and we'll see what it looks like. Stira, rejection. This is an effective attack with no defense. The Gemara is forced to find an alternative to whatever was just rejected. Okay, now, if we understand well enough what these 7 things are and how they interact with each other, and the variations are, I don't know if you had a mathematician here, someone, go home and ask your wife. The variations that can happen there are, well, they're endless, because every single one of these components can interact with every single one of them, and so on and so forth. And that's where things get, as you said last week, very, very loopy. Okay, but we'll see that besides understanding what these are and how they interact with each other, the really cool thing is that each one of these has 5 or 6 key words that cover 80% of cases. Meaning, there are certain key, what we will call from now on function words. Okay, I'll give you an example. If I see the word in the Gemara, the Aramaic word for the word what or why, I know for sure what is going to be here. A she'ela, a question. Okay? And if I just learn the 5 or 6 most common words in Aramaic for a she'ela, and the 5 and 6 most common words for a kushiyah, even without understanding the Aramaic, I know not only what source is being discussed here, whether this is Tanakh, Amoraic, or a Torah source, I know what is going to be, I know this is an Amoraic source, and I've seen the word mai, which means what. I know that it's an Amoraic source that's going to be asking a question. And I know that I need to look for where the question is, I need to look for the beginning of an answer. I've just subdivided, and this is what we're going to learn how to do. And people all too often think that the difficulty of learning Gemara is a language barrier, and it really isn't. Like I've said before, you can take an English translation of the Gemara and you still will have no clue what's going on. It's not about a language barrier. It's not about figuring out what the Gemara is saying. It's about figuring out what the Gemara is doing. That's the hard part. It's not a matter of hard. That's the main purpose of the Gemara, is not necessarily the content. It's what is it doing with this content. Okay? It's figuring out how is it saying what it's saying, and where did it end up? Did it end up with a conclusion? Was approach A the conclusion? Was approach B the conclusion? Now it is difficult because it's a legal document, and it's a recording of highly professional and intelligent people of law. Okay, it would be as if we're opening up a debate that was happening at Harvard Law School. That someone just recorded what professors in Harvard Law School are arguing about constitutional law. So a layperson looking at it would have no clue what they're talking about. There'd be all kinds of terms he doesn't know, and he wouldn't know the way in which they usually debate and how you come to a conclusion. And that's what we're trying to do. But it's not about the words. It's about what are they saying. It's what are they doing. Okay? And this is the method to crack that, and not only crack that, become part of that. Okay. So now, any questions so far? Because I want to demonstrate this. Okay. So because okay. So I'm now going to give out. Let's see. What time is it? What time is it?
8:50.
8:50? Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. We have some time. Good. So I have here 2 exercise sheets. Here, pass this down. 1, 2. 1, 2. Here, pass this down. 2 exercise sheets. We're not going to finish them all now. No. It's they go together. It's 2 exercise sheets per person. Here, 2, 2, and 2. And for those of you who will be watching this later, who are missing from a class, we dearly miss you, but it will all be up on the website. So, okay. So we're going to start with something really silly, and I apologize if I apologize for the simplicity of this, but I put this together for my students in high school, and therefore I wanted it to be a little engaging and a little bit funny, and I didn't feel like coming up with a different one today because it's cute and it's funny, and I worked in it a lot the first time I did it. So, okay, have alongside you, this, okay, this. So, or just try to guess, or just figure out without, we're going to do this together. An individual, someone comes in to our room and says, hey, guess what I saw? An individual lifted a car over their head with their bare hands. What would this be?
It's a statement.
A statement, right? So let's write on the side here, statement. Okay. And on purpose I put no punctuation. How big was the car? It's a question. A question, a she'ela. If you want to write it in Hebrew, that's even better. A full-size 7-seater Dodge Caravan. That's a tshuva. It's an answer. It isn't humanly possible, scientifically, for one person to lift such weight.
It's an attack. Kushia.
This is a kushia, an attack. It's trying to claim. Okay, what makes it a kushia? What makes it a kushia? What makes it an attack?
It's a complete rejection.
Not a rejection. Not a rejection. Rejection is something that won't be able to be answered. You know what? Wait a second. You're right. You might be right. If this kushia is rejected, is removed, then it's not a rejection. Okay, rejection is something which kills the story. The rejection would be with the guy saying, "Yeah, you're right. I lied." Okay.
It's coming from the knowledge.
What's coming from knowledge?
This kushia.
The kushia. It's saying, it's basically hiding. It's hiding a statement. Okay, which is, you're wrong. Or in this case, you're lying. It's not saying those words, but that's what it's insinuating. It's saying, you're wrong. I know you're wrong. This can't be possible. It's saying that because, scientifically speaking, this is impossible. It's humanly impossible. Okay? Kushia. So, the next sentence, it may be that the individual lifting the car was not human. What is this?
It's a rebuttal.
This is a rebuttal. This is a tirutz. Why is it a tirutz? What is it going back to? What is it talking about? Is it talking about the individual? To which stage is it relating? Is it relating to stage 1? Look, I have 7 lines here. Obviously, you guys can already see I aligned it, right? I made this one really, really easy. I aligned it according to the order of the 7 stages. Not every sugya has all 7 stages. Not at all. But I made up a sugya here that has 7 stages because we're just kind of playing around with it right now. But the teruts, it may be that the individual lifting the car was not human. All it's doing is looking at the sentence of the Kushiyah, which said, it isn't humanly possible, scientifically, for one person to lift such weight. So it says, oh, wait a second. You said it's not humanly possible. Well, you're assuming that this is a human we're talking about. So, did it say that it's a human? Look at the first sentence. It says an individual. Or let's say it said an entity. Maybe it was a bear. Maybe it was a dinosaur. I don't know. Could bears lift cars? I don't know. Maybe it was
Crate.
a crate, whatever, okay? So it says, it may be that the individual lifting the car was not human. So is that a successful rebuttal?
No.
Why not?
It is.
It's a rebuttal of the Kushya. It's a rebuttal of the Kushya, because the Kushya, all the Kushya was saying, you are wrong because humans can't do that. And the rebuttal said, maybe it's not a human. Does the phrase, maybe it's not a human, remove your attack of it's not humanly possible?
Yeah.
It does. Because you claim that I'm wrong because it's not humanly possible. That's you, right? That's the place of knowledge you're coming from. Humans can't do things like that. Fine. Why does that mean I'm wrong? Maybe it's not a human. I didn't say it was a human. Is your attack still valid? No. Because your attack was based on knowledge that humans can't do it. I never said it was a human. Okay? Yeah. Okay. And then it says Superman lifted a car. What is this? What is the purpose of this sentence in this sugya that I made up?
I think it's also part of the rebuttal.
Okay,
It could be a rebuttal in and of itself.
You're correct. It is part of the rebuttal. How is it part of the rebuttal?
It supports.
It supports it. It's a proof. It's a raya. Okay? Usually, a raya will always appear as something else because you're trying to prove something. Either you're trying to prove your attack, your claim of certainty that I think you're wrong, and this is why I think you're wrong. Here's my proof for the fact that you're wrong. Okay? For instance, if I were really, if we were having this real conversation and you said it is not humanly possible, scientifically, for someone to lift a car, so a good kushya would then come. And I will prove to you it's not scientifically possible. And bring me a scientific study that shows that humans can only lift X amount of weight, and this car weighs double that. Proofs will always be part of something else. Okay? But even though they're part of something else, you can still diagnose them as a separate unit. Okay? And there are certain very, very distinctive key phrases that introduce a proof. Okay? Which we'll get to.
But that's also this one is also a statement. Superman lifted a car.
It is. So you're right. That is why it is so crucial to understand the flow of the sugya. Because if I just looked at the phrase Superman lifted a car, I say, oh, this sounds like a statement. But if I look at what happened beforehand, and what's happening afterwards, I realize this is not a statement. This is a proof. Meaning, because again, this is exactly where it comes in. It's not about what the Gemara is saying. Gemara. My story here is saying is that Superman lifted a car. That's what it's saying. That's not what it's doing. What these words are doing is they're proving a removal of an attack. That's what Gemara is not so much about what is being said. It's about what is it trying to do with those words. Yeah.
It's not a proof that the individual was Superman.
It is not at all. Exactly. Very good. It's not at all. It's not saying that the story is about Superman. All it's doing is proving the removal of the attack, which relates to the attack. Meaning the proof is taking issue with the assumption that either attacker brought. Okay? It's not saying that it's Superman here, but again, someone who doesn't understand these concepts that we're introducing here would say, oh, someone who is claiming that they saw Superman. Did someone who claim they saw Superman? No. I'm just using this as an argumentative tool to come and say that your assumption that you're so sure that this is impossible because humans can't do it is not a logical thing that can be said here about what I said, because I didn't say it was a human. I just want to continue the last one. Superman is a fictitious character and does not exist. This is a steer. This is a rejection. Saying, well, actually, if you really want to get into it, it's not a full rejection. I meant for it to be rejection, but it can be picked apart. But we're going to say it's a rejection, okay?
So the tirutz never works on the tshuva. It always works on...
Correct. It might sometimes touch upon the tshuva, but it's not its business. That's not what it cares about. It might sometimes almost like by accident, or vicariously, or not vicariously, inadvertently, okay, or as a byproduct, we'll be doing that. But its business is to attack. The tirutz talking about? It's the tirutz. The tirutz's business is to remove the kushiyah, to show that what you're so sure about that doesn't make sense or doesn't fit with something else is incorrect. Now sometimes the tirutz will, in one way or another, will connect to the tshuva. Sometimes, okay? Now, by the way, sometimes a tirutz, sometimes a kushiyah. Well, here I'll kind of get a little loopy with you, and I wish I had my smartboard here. I'm gonna have to get used to this. I'm gonna have to learn how to use a dumb board better, a whiteboard, because a kushiyah is not always on a tshuva. A kushiyah can be on anything. A kushiyah could be on a statement. A kushiyah could be on a terutz. I can bring a removal of the attack, okay? And my removal could be attacked. Every single one of these 7 components can connect to any single one of these 7 components, and connect again to any 7, and that's when things really get loopy, okay? Because it will practically never actually look like this: statement, question, answer, attack, removal, attack. This is like the last time you'll probably see it in my invented sugya, okay, about Superman. No, there are some, but they're very, very rare because they're usually not that simplistic. Let me see how we're doing with time. 9:05. So I just want to give you guys. We're not going to do another exercise. No, we'll leave these for next week. But I just want to give you guys an example. I always like to leave off as something a little bit new, of an example of a difference between Nishlan and Kushiyah. Okay, so. The question here, how big was the car? Okay, that is a question, because why is this question being asked? How big was the car? What are the options of what I'm looking for here? Okay, one option is it's a full-size 17-seater Dodge Caravan, and now I'm ready to attack you because I'm looking for. They tell me something amazing, right? I saw someone was lifting a car over their heads. So here's one possible question is, well, how big was the car? One possible answer is, it's a 7-seater Dodge Caravan. Okay, well now, we're going to get into it. I don't believe you, not possible, prove it to me. But what's another possible answer that would diffuse this whole thing?
Could be a matchbox.
Oh, it's this big. Great. But then I would ask another question. Well then, why are you telling me this?
Deal?
What?
Yeah,
why are you running and you're all excited about this?
Chidush.
What?
It's the chidush.
What's the chidush? Okay. Any single. What we're going to do next is we're going to start off with. This will be the exercise for next week that we start off with. Come up with one she'ela and one kushiyah for each sentence in the above paragraph. Okay. Because it's really important. The first stage is we really want to figure out the difference between a she'ela and a kushiyah. A she'ela just wants to gather more information. A kushiyah basically is saying to one another, you are wrong. And here's one other little nugget, okay? That a kushiyah will be based on one of two things. Because I'm coming from a place of certainty. You are wrong. I don't believe you. Or I think you're wrong. But if I'm so sure about it, I have to. What would make me so sure that you're wrong? What are the possible things that would make me sure that you're wrong? Let's look at this.
You have a proof.
Either.
It is impossible.
It's impossible. So what is that based on?
Knowledge.
Not knowledge so much. Logic.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thinking.
Logic. Just human logic. This doesn't make sense.